Well, hello, and welcome to my YouTube channel. My name's Jane, and I'm a textile artist working in the middle of Scotland, very near to Loch Lomond. And I come on here every Friday and I talk about creativity and about nature and about trying to live a more intentional life. So grab yourself something, cup of tea, cup of coffee, and let's chat. So today I wanted to talk about something slightly peculiar that happened last week. I was on my laptop and I logged onto YouTube, but for some reason it didn't actually log me on. It brought the page up, it brought like a generic front page on. It didn't know who I was. This was just the page that would be shown to anybody. And it was terrifying. It was all really shouty. All of the thumbnails were quite harsh colours, very oversaturated. The lettering was big and block and shouty and red and black and yellow. Everything about the page just screamed sort of threat, disaster. And then when you looked at what the videos were actually about, they were equally kind of disturbing. They fell into various categories. There was the we're all going to die kind of anxiety, fear-producing ones, were about terrible illnesses and kind of threats from the universe, and lots of kind of prepping and apocalypse stuff. Lots of very gory looking illnesses. And then there was a whole load of things that kind of, I suppose, would appeal to being greedy and lazy. You know, they get rich quick, £5 million in 5 days, kind of things. Or the other end, you know, lose 3 stone in 3 weeks. And kind of everything had to be really fast, really easy, probably pay money to people. And then there was another category that was the pleasure in seeing people do badly. So there's a lot of celebrity shame on that. And obviously, you know, I logged in at the top and then the whole thing changed. It became much more muted. It became the things that I choose to watch and other suggestions based on those choices. So most of the things were actual people talking about the way that they live in a very calm, nuanced, welcoming kind of way. There was lots of creativity, there's lots of nature, there's lots of, you know, interesting ways of looking at the world with honesty, vulnerability. All of the colours were suddenly much more muted. People were smiling and making eye contact in a very natural kind of way in all the thumbnails. There wasn't any of this kind of thumbnails that there had been on the previous thing. Much more pleasant place to be. So whereas that first kind of foray into YouTube, and it does make me realise why when I've said to some friends, oh yes, I'm doing this stuff on YouTube now, they've gone a bit like, oh really? I don't think you're going to fit in there, Jane. But it's just that I wouldn't fit onto that front page where everything is designed to make you anxious and fearful and up your stress hormones. but I fit very nicely onto my page. And it made me realise two things. And the first is, a lot of people complain about social media algorithms. Usually these people like me who have a business which has relied in some ways on posts being shown to our people, and there's a feeling that posts aren't shown to people as much. I'm not sure I've found that, but I do know that it is a general belief, and it may well be true. But having had that experience with the unmodified, the unalgorithmic, well, that's not even a word, is it? But the page that was shown without my personal algorithm, it makes me realise how much I personally benefit from what I would think of as actually curation. It gives me something that I'm going to be ready to engage with. But the second thing that it made me realise is that this is just a kind of an expansion of the way that our brains, our minds, actually work. So, as we go through the world, there is so much information, so much to see, that our brains naturally put a filter on it, and they'll allow some things to pop up and you notice them, other things will go sort of into the background. So, for example, my husband and I, who have very different interests apart from food, will notice completely different things when we're out. I will notice anything textile, so that will be, shops, haberdashery shops, or people with amazing clothes, or, classes that are on in textiles, exhibitions, that kind of thing. I will notice plants, gardens, flowers, anything that is kind of connected to that. These are the things that my brain knows that I like. Ewan, when he's out, he will notice cars and bridges, anything engineering-y, anything to do with fixing things, tools, that kind of thing. If we compared notes after the walk, we would have not seen the other person's things at all, because our brains are curated. And this is also why once you've seen something once you've maybe heard of a new book title, suddenly you hear about it 7, 8 times. It's because your brain has decided that it is important, and it's kind of like focusing that. You're noticing every mention of it, whereas the week before, it maybe wouldn't have come up into your consciousness. Now, this means that we have a fantastic tool to, if we put in the work at checking that our brains know what things actually support us, what things nurture us, then we can see more of that in our life. Now, I need to put in a really important caveat here. None of this suggests that I think we shouldn't know what is going on in the world, all of the horrors that are going on in the world at the moment. We absolutely need to know what is going on, and we absolutely need to do what is within our power to change them, whether that is donating, whether that is contacting government officials, whether it is publicising. That is 100%. But what I would say is that our brains are not made for rolling news. Whether that is the kind of rolling news that you get on the television, or whether it's the kind of rolling news that is looking at, say, Instagram stories, where you are seeing the same information over and over and over again during your day. Our brains don't cope with that particularly well, and instead of increasing engagement, it decreases engagement, because there is a disempowering, a numbing, closing down of activity. So my caveat is absolutely find out what the news is every day and how you can help. But do it at a level where it is going to make you effective rather than sap you into inaction. And don't be shamed by people into what level that is, because everybody is different. I now get my news in a written form because I do not cope well with video things. It makes me less effective in contacting people, in donating, in doing my bit. Other people may be able to engage with multiple videos and things. It's all in the way that you're made up. So, yes, know the news. Yes, know your limits. Yes, engage and help where you can. So, with all of that over, that is not what I'm talking about here. What I'm talking about here is our brains give us the opportunity to tell them what it is that we want to engage with. What are the positives in life? And this is why so many of the positive psychology techniques really work. Because what you're doing is you are programming your brain in the way that you program an algorithm. So if you write gratitude lists, it tells your brain to, during the next day, look for things to be grateful for, because you're going to have to write that list before you go to bed. And that changes the way that you see life, bit by bit by bit. If you deliberately seek out beauty in the natural world, your brain does the same. It goes, oh, this is what we're looking for. We're looking for beauty in the natural world, or we're looking for people who help. We are being creative. We are getting the joy from creating things. Let's create more things. And it's not an immediate thing, because you are programming your brain, but it is an absolute thing. It is the way that you can become more positive, less anxious, less doom-laden, is just to pay attention to the joyous things in life, to beauty, to creativity, to kindness, to the fact that almost everybody is a really kind, helpful person, given the chance. And that is the bit that we should be seeing in life. But what I find most encouraging about this is that it is really empowering, because it means that no matter where you are or what your circumstances are, you can improve your life yourself just by choosing what things it is that you notice. Now, I'm not saying it's easy. Absolutely not easy. The idea that being a positive person is easy and Pollyanna-ish is false. It is a thing that requires discipline, but it is also something that is incredibly rewarding. And with that, I am going to finish my cup of tea, and then I'm going off to deadhead some dahlias. We have had really weathery weather here. So there has been lots of wind, an awful lot of rain, and a lot of the dahlias in the garden, which have been looking spectacular this year, have kind of fallen over and snapped and are a little bit ragged. So I am going to go out there and deadhead them so that we can get more beauty when they rebloom next year. Mug. People always ask me. My beautiful mug is by Vanessa Simpson. I'll link her underneath. The zinnias. Look at these zinnias. These are some more of the floret flower zinnias that, if you remember, Erin sent me seeds from, and I wasn't at all sure whether they would grow in Scotland. And I do have them in the tunnel. They're not outside in that horrible rain, but aren't they just gorgeous? So until next Friday, bye bye. Have a lovely week.